We all set?
At an intersection?
Yeah, I think so.
Full speed.
Rolling through there?
Well, the thing was snowed shut, so didn't see the red. Pow! 50 miles an hour. Lucky it was pickup truck.
Not a smart car.
Yeah. Or Fiat. My buddy bought a Fiat.
Thank you.
I think it's smart.
Thank you. Guys ready to call a meeting now?
Yeah, he needs 15 seconds.
15, yeah.
We're good?
15 seconds. All
What are you doing? Lord.
It's called a Board of Public Works and Capital Assets October 12th meeting to order. Roll call.
Hale's here.
Tolman here. Guzikowski here.
Richard's here. Seifert here.
Segal here. Approval of minutes from 9/14/2021.
We've got a couple corrections we need on the first page of the minutes. Item 3, they have my last name spelled wrong. It's S-I-E instead of S-E-I. And also item 5 is the same thing.
Except after C, right?
But
It's a darn spell checker.
well, it's a legal document. And if it's not correct, then you have a problem.
Will the real Fred Seibert please stand up?
All right. Other than that, I approve the minutes of 9/14/2021.
Richards will second.
All right, roll call.
Hale, aye.
Tolman, aye. Guzikowski abstain.
Richards, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Segal, aye. All righty. Common council action related to capital works and public work and capital assets. Is this Andrew?
Yeah, it's really the only reason I'm here today. Really, a couple light agendas the last two council meetings since our last Board of Public Works meeting, but some pretty monumental stuff was moved through. So just an update on the Lakeshore Commons project. Last meeting, we approved after a public hearing, approved the planned unit development traditional neighborhood design overlay district. So the zoning was put in place finally. At the previous meeting, we approved the infrastructure development agreement. And for those maybe not that familiar with the infrastructure development agreement, that kind of governs the responsibilities of the developer, making sure that roads and sewer and water, all the infrastructure are built to the city's standards before they're ultimately dedicated back to the city. In this case, the developer is the kind of the GM on the project, or the GC, master developer. In this unique development in that document also spells out which roads will actually be dedicated to the public and which roads will remain private, like those alleyways that I think maybe one of you had mentioned at the last meeting, or maybe that was at council, but the city is not taking over responsibility for alleyway maintenance and some other roads that really just service a dozen or so homes. It also spells out.
Would you run that by me again one more time?
So the city, the infrastructure development agreement also in this case calls out which roads will be dedicated to the public and that which will be maintained by the overall owners association at the Lakeshore Commons project. So certain roadways, specifically though the alleyways, the city is not taking on maintenance responsibility of those alleyways that serve a lot of the development in there. And I think, again, that was a question maybe one of you had, and I could be confusing the venues, but it was, yeah, Rich. Okay. So yes, we will not have responsibility for alleyway maintenance, and that's a unique setup. Obviously, we're going back to traditional neighborhood development, so that's important. So lastly, on the Lakeshore Commons project, we did successfully close on that project the later part of last week. So that project will commence construction. They're putting up construction fencing now, and it's, tallying for the better part of, 7, 8, 9 years out there. So the work begins now, right? I know I've shared that, we felt the business deal and wrapping that up and getting to closing and all of the environmental conditions and all of that stuff we've been doing the last 2.5 years to see that. Now the work begins for these guys out in the field and making sure things are done in accordance with our standards. So it's going to take a lot of effort and it's going to be a journey, but we're over the hump at least and getting the land into the developer's hands to kind of go forward. So that was really it from the last two council agendas for anything germane to public works or capital assets. With one exception, we did have our budget workshop on Friday, this last Friday. We wrapped up our budget workshop. Was it sometime before 1 o'clock or right about 1:30? And we're basically everything situated. The capital items that this group had recommended be included for approval were included. And it looks like, do you remember that one lift station project that we were talking about? It was about a $750,000 project. We thought we would build up to that maybe over the course of a couple years. The council is really looking to move that project into 2022 and probably use a debt instrument to just take care of that project. And we will adjust the ERUs, not in this coming tax bill, but the following tax bill. So we kind of took a little bit of a pause, but the idea is we'll very likely go forward with the project in 2022 or end of 22, beginning of 23, whenever it makes sense for that larger Drexel Avenue project. We'll have to slot it in and figure that out.
Super.
Yeah.
Good.
A question about the development. What's the time span for the total completion of that project?
You know, a lot of that's going to depend on the market, Fred, and I think they have 5 to 7 years in their minds. I think that given we're in a year of infrastructure, if we were wrapping things up in 8, 9, or 10 years, I wouldn't be shocked. But certainly, if they absorb, it could be a 5 to 7 year build out on that. So
A little longer than the normal developments that we usually have.
it is, and I think we'll know, right? I think we'll know within that first couple of years how quickly, these dwelling units are going to absorb, and that'll kind of inform what the end of the timeline would look like.
That's all I have. Thank you, Andrew. Anything else then? Alrighty. General government, we have nothing. Public Works, motion to approve utility vouchers for October payment in the amount of $531,000.
Mr. Chair, just a quick note on that. There was a typo. If you could include the corrected amount in your motion, it's actually $530,951.25, not $531.
530, 951?
Yep.
I have 2 questions, sir. If we could, in the credit card area, I don't know if you can pull this off out of your hat. There was a charge on the credit card for almost $1,900. I'm just curious, that was under Allard. What was a charge for $1,878 on a credit card?
Page is that deal?
2, page 2.
Page 2.
Seemed kind of unusual, such a high ticket item on the credit card. Just let me know what that is. Don't worry about it now. Right? And on the second batch, okay, the sewer camera, same old stuff. And then all the way on page 14. Organization development consultant, what is that all about? Amy Thorgard, $700.
I don't have that one with me.
October or September?
What was the second one? The $700 for Amy Thorgard deal?
You got in there, Dave? Organization development consultant? We hire somebody?
Yeah, that's for Amy, that was the.
Oh, is that a new employee, Amy?
Yeah, she's a new operator at the plant.
Okay, got it. Right, that's all I had.
The $1,800
Yeah,
was a new safety pin for the shield, the trench box. That's what that cost was. Big safety pin.
I guess so. That goofy Allard.
I also have a question on the September voucher. It's the 2020 pilot payment to the city of Oak Creek for $1.7 million. Just,
It's a little short, doesn't it?
yeah. Just a little
A little
curious
short.
of what that really consists of or what it amounts to.
That's just our typical pilot payment to the city for the assets that we have.
I don't recall seeing this before.
It's every year.
Every year.
It's
Basically,
every,
we're paying property taxes for the assets we own to the city.
okay,
It's built into our rates, it's built into the city's budget.
thank you.
It's our Christmas present to the city.
We'll keep them going for another 6 months.
All right, let's go back to, number 5 and, we have the, are those informational or do we have?
Oh, we
to
gotta
approve
take a
them?
motion on that. 'Cause
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So let's make a motion on,
Richards will approve both invoices as recommended by the city administrator.
yes.
I'll second Dale's motion for item 5.
All right. Roll call.
Gill, aye.
Holman, aye. Guzekowski, aye.
Richards, aye.
Item number 6 for, September.
Richards will approve utility vouchers for September as listed.
No seconds.
Roll call.
Gill, aye.
Holman, aye. Guzekowski, aye.
Richards, aye.
Okay. Number 7, consider a motion to approve a sanitary sewer connection agreement for 7720 South Howell Avenue contingent on payment of $12,800.
So this is a sanitary sewer connection agreement for the property at 7720 South Howell. They are trying to sell that property and in that process found out that their septic system is failing. There is sanitary sewer on the south end of their property, serves the gables right there. So what they're requesting to do is run a new lateral to serve their house just to that manhole.
Can we get that on a map? Can we see that? No.
Have one. Are you able to pull up GIS?
So the manhole is right on the east roadway of Howell Avenue, south side of this property. It's on the north side of the gables. So they would run a lateral to that connection rather than extending the sanitary sewer, doing a special assessment project to extend that sanitary sewer that would just serve this property and the property to the north. There was a special assessment. So
Gonna get Monaco in this too?
that's would be the property to the north, yes. So thought this would be a better route to take, quicker route for them. They're looking to close on this at the end of the month. So if it's a special assessment project, they can't get that done until we get a design done, get that bid out, get that process done. I don't see this sewer extended to serve the property to the north anytime soon, or requesting a special assessment anytime soon for that sewer to be extended. So be able to get this
Got the
thing.
hitch in there that if it does get extended, they've got to pay the
Yes.
full complement.
Yeah, what the connection agreement payment does, $12,800, that's their special assessment charge, current special assessment rate. So they would make that upfront payment. So if that sewer was extended, what they would have to do is make their new lateral connection to that new sewer. They would be responsible to cover that cost, but they wouldn't be charged again for that special assessment because they're paying for it upfront.
Okay.
Are all three of those homes on septic that are right there? With the long driveway in Monaco's house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you still looking to have that brought up?
Richards will make a motion to approve item 7 as listed.
Valley seconds.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Holman, aye. Guzekowski, aye.
Richards, aye.
Valley, aye.
Alrighty, number 8, consider a motion to approve contract with Higgins Tower Service Inc. to install a 45-foot tall communication tower at any amount of not to exceed $12,963.35.
So this is a new tower. If you're familiar with like the triangular self-supported towers that go up, it's what we have at the office now. We're looking at doing the same thing over here at the Janet pump station. The trees have grown up over there and we're not getting a good radio signal back to Sycamore Tower. So our current radios are mounted on the side of the building on a pole sticking up about 25 feet. We want to go up another 20 feet, which puts us into a tower so that we can get radio communication back to Sycamore. We have intermittent outages with the radio system over there, and trying to solve that problem here. Reached out to our tower people, which is Higgins. They gave us an estimate for this. They can come in and get this set up, and then we'll put new radios up on top of the tower as well. So just a communication issue.
Do you think that'll definitely take care of it?
Yeah, when we were out evaluating all this, we went up in a boom truck, and how high do we gotta get so we can get over the trees and be high enough that we can see the tower and get cleared. So,
Did you have private property?
yeah, for the apartment building to the north. So.
Are those trees mature?
Yeah.
Yeah, are we gonna hook up to any cell phone hookups on that tower?
No, this would not support cell tower,
Okay.
or any antennas for a cell tower. This is just solely for our communications from Janet back to Sycamore.
That height, do you get a beacon on it or not?
No, don't need one.
Ernie, is there a motion on 8?
Valley moves to approve. Contract with Higgins Tower Service to install a 45-foot tall communication tower above not to exceed $963.
Bill, second.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Holman, aye. Guzekowski, aye.
Richards, aye.
Valley, aye.
Number 9, motion to approve the contract with R.A. Smith for the topographical survey, wetland delineation of Bender Park land and future extension in the amount not to exceed $19,500.
So this is a contract, we've been working with Milwaukee County and had a vision of getting a sanitary sewer system to serve down to Fitzsimmons. With the Lakeshore project, that gets the sewer down to the old Ryan Road, which is now Lake Vista Boulevard. So we attach from there, go on south through Bender Park to get down to Fitzsimmons. There was talk back in 2006 when the Bluffs was being developed that this deep sewer would be needed to serve that property to the south. We're looking to see what the viability is to get through there and working with Milwaukee County. So we're doing a topo and wetland delineation to see how and where we can get through Bender Park to get that sanitary sewer service down to Fitzsimmons.
It's a little more flavor on that. We actually worked for the better part of a year to partner with Milwaukee County to actually do some land swapping in that area such that we did not have to extend the sanitary down to, I guess, to Fitzsimmons east of the Bluffs proper. We were looking to develop the land immediately south of the Lakeshore Commons for numerous reasons. You know, that seemed to be a protracted, teeth gnashing process to swap land. There's some law con involved, and we thought, well, let's just control our own destiny here. The developer is prepared to move forward with a single family subdivision to the south when we can figure this infrastructure out. And we thought, you know, let's just see if we can work with the county kind of on plan B to get basically an easement to get down to that property as opposed to land swapping. So we did look at some other land use strategies, but ultimately settled back on, kind of a costly extension here.
That's gonna be a tough road to haul. You might be forced into a force main with that puppy, because that's gonna be a deep one.
It's not much deeper than what we're doing right now in Lakeshore Commons. So I think we're at 35 feet in Lakeshore Commons and we're right around 40 feet going through Bender Park.
That's why doing this study, if you will, is a good thing to get the ball rolling.
There's wetlands there. We know we're going to be someplace through wetlands. We can't get there without hitting wetlands. So we got to find out where they're at, where we can impact them the least, and where we can get Milwaukee County to approve that. So.
Ready for a motion on this one?
Yeah, all right.
Richards will move item 9 as listed.
Snelly seconds.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Holman, aye. Guzekowski, aye.
Richards, aye.
Snelly, aye.
And consider a motion to approve the 2022 operating budget for Yellow Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
Lost it. Lost my budget. Right. So our marvelous budget. We have 2 enterprise funds, a water and sanitary sewer that operate just like a business. The revenues come from the rates that we charge from our customers rather than coming from taxes. Their rates are comprised of 2 parts. There's a fixed portion, which is based on our meter size, and then a volumetric portion that's based on the water usage. These rates are approved by the PSC in addition to construction projects that we have. This is an operating budget. It's meant to be a guideline for management. It's a tool we use to determine if we need to raise rates or not. That is the biggest issue that we deal with the operating budget. There's no legal requirements for approval or public hearings like the city has. This board can approve the budget. Review our annual budget quarterly throughout the year to see if we're on pace and how we're progressing through our budget. Our typical budget is very conservative. Budget percentages for the 2022 budget, we have 0 revenue growth. We have 3% to cover inflation costs, 5% for budget increases. We're unsure about health premiums and where everything's going with the benefits. 2% for wages. The commission or the board will have the opportunity to approve that 2% at a later time, but we assume a 2% increase. And then 3% for MMSD pass-through charges. So we get over to our budget sheet. We have the 2020 actual budget on the left, and then we have our estimated budget total for 2021. And we have our actual budget for 2021. The variance between the two of 2020 estimated and 2020 budgeted. The budget for 2022 and a variance from the 2022 budget to the 2021 estimated. So we're looking at total operating revenue of just over $11 million for our budget for 2022. We have about $3.6 million worth of expenses for operating expenses, $8.5 million of total operating expenses, excuse me. And we have income before capital of $2.2 million.
Brian, if you would, send me a copy of those baseline assumptions for the budget. And then just, one other comment on the depreciation and the taxes. Okay, usually we did 3%, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe it's just me, but I'm only showing 2% on the taxes instead of 3%, and 2.43% on the depreciation. So if you guys are still fine with the lower numbers, that's fine with me. But usually that was just a tad higher.
I kind of based those ones on actual, I tried to do what the actual pilot was going to be next year, like I have a general sense. So it's not really a 3% increase. It's more what I think the pilot is going to be plus.
Might you want to restate that
On the mic.
on the mic.
So the pilot is basically the January 1st assets of the utility. And then we have there's an assessment ratio and then a mill rate. And that determines what we pay the city. So it was more of a what I think it's going to be than just timesing it by something. And same thing with depreciation. Like it's gonna go up each year based on, prior year fixed asset additions and stuff like that. More than just a general 3%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Explanation. Questions on that? Good. Motion?
Richards will make a motion to approve the 2022 utility budget for next year as listed.
That's all you had, Brian? Yeah. Okay. Gail, a second.
Roll call.
Gail, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Tolman, aye.
Richards, aye.
Think, also,
that's right.
all right, number 11, review utility investments.
But the only thing to note here is that their LGIP is still miserable. Vouchers approved for August for 2.4 million, and the withdrawals were roughly 2.3 million. So.
Any other questions on that? Number 11, administrative and operation reports.
Yeah, we kind of lump these together just as opposed to itemizing all of them, but same information's in there. I just wanted to provide you all a little bit of an update on just from an organizational awareness perspective regarding pending retirements in the city. Wow. So if I could just go through the calendar here, city treasurer is November 1. DPW director is Thanksgiving. Assistant DPW director is December 1. Police chief is January 3rd. City engineer is January 7th. HR manager is February 18th. And likely our benefits coordinator later on in the year in 2022 as well.
You're gonna have to ask for a raise. You're gonna be wearing a lot of hats.
Well, I'm glad we have Max. We have a good team in general, but yeah, Max will be shouldering some more burden this year until we do have a good game plan. I mean, up for appointment next common council meeting, we'll be filling with internal promotions the treasurer and the engineering position with Matt Sullivan and the current deputy treasurer, Sarah Kaczynski. But then it does get a little more complicated after that. So we do have a game plan for all of it, but I just wanted you to be aware that, you know, that's significant institutional knowledge leaving the building and excellent team members just in general. So it's going to be a challenging year, but I think in the end, there's always opportunity in that to really reinvent yourself a little bit and get some new perspectives, both from a promotional standpoint with folks moving up in the organization, as well as, you know, outside hires coming in and bringing their perspectives and talents and time to the city of Oak Creek. So in the end, I think we're excited about it, but you know, it's going to be a little tough road to hoe here in the next year and a half or so.
Some questions on utility operations here. Brian, the satellite leak detector, how are we doing on equipment there?
We are getting close. We have one demo that we had a guy come out and walk us through this equipment and kind of teach us a little bit what we should be listening for, how we should be listening with it, which was fantastic. We had another rep that finally brought his stuff out, didn't show up with what we wanted, but brought a different piece of equipment, dropped that off, said, here, use this for 2 weeks. I'll be back with the equipment you really wanted, and we'll try that. So we're in that first phase of looking at, it's called a correlator. So you set out 2 different receivers and a transmitter on like 2 different valves, and it listens to see if it determines any sound variations in that water main between those 2 valves. And then you use that to pinpoint where that break might be or leak might be. That's the equipment we're trying out right now. That's the expensive equipment that we didn't want to get into, but that's what he dropped off. So we're looking for more just a handheld leak detector where we can just listen to each valve, listen on the road along the main, and see if we can pick up that break or leak that we have. We do have, Michael Wade has been out using this equipment. He's really excited about this. He's just itching to get this equipment in his hand. And, you know, the old analogy that we always say, you're standing on a street corner with a wad full of money and nobody take it from you. We're trying to get this equipment and we can't find anybody to bring it over for us. So he has a couple areas where he feels confident that there's something there. These are really small leaks, so it's really hard to pick up. We have a lot of PVC main that showed up in the satellite leak detection, which is really hard to listen on because the sound doesn't travel as well through the plastic. So tough to find some of these, and not having the right equipment is really hindering where he's at. But we're close to making that decision and getting going on this.
Brian, do we know how much we're losing or leaking percentage-wise? 5%, 10%?
Not a clue.
Estimate?
Not a clue. We have, I think it's roughly 12% of lost water that we report every year, or last year, I should say. And part of that is from these leaks and trying to minimize what's going out through the ground and not getting accounted for. So that's why we're trying to find these.
Thank you.
Water main breaks. Let me look at your hands. Are your hands dirty?
No, I got them cleaned up finally, but yeah.
That one bothers me. I mean, that's a pretty big, what, a 5-inch diameter hole?
Yeah, there were 5 holes in that main, all within 20 feet of each other. So.
You guys go to church on Sunday? I hope so, because that one scares me.
Yeah, it made a mess of things over there, and when you're calling in the D team to come out and help, things are bad. So, holiday weekend and everything. So we were able to find it and get it taken care of, but we made a mess over there. Guys are out there the following week trying to get the roads and everything cleaned up, and we still got to get back over and restore the hole that was over there. But it was a long time just trying to get the water slowed down enough so that you could find out what was going on, and thought we had a good guess of where it was, and got down there and got 2 holes patched, and golly, there's still water running. So we had to go dig a little bit further and find the other 2 holes that were over there.
And then I see on the 7th, you guys changed out the meter for Caledonia. Did you guys shoot a courtesy call over to Caledonia, let them know that was done?
Yes, got to take care of that.
Any issues on their part?
None that have been reported.
Okay. And then on Darren's distribution goals, I'm just, I don't know if I should be concerned or not that, like operating valves is kind of low on the totem pole. And usually we pull off the cathodic protection tests at the end of the year, but we still got to do those. And then checking some problem stores. Those all seem to be
still playing catch up. Yeah. Yeah, they're busy. They're trying to get things caught up. The camera truck was down for some time, so we're trying to get that back up and running. We have some electrical gremlins that are running through the camera truck. So just this week they're rewiring the electrical in the camera truck.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah, so they got it fixed and back up and running. But cameras, we had both cameras that were down for a while and out to California to get fixed. So yeah, they're back on top of it though.
And then I can see at the plant, it looks like the pumpage for the month was up 13.9%. Hopefully that wasn't all Buttes Road.
No, not all Buttes Road.
And I think you guys need to turn around and take a hike down to the plant with a couple cases of beer. That, the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility was voted the best tasting water in Wisconsin at the convention.
Yep.
Holy cow, that's a biggie.
That was a shocker.
We'll let the citizens of Oak Creek know about that.
Yeah.
Just need to get some PR out of that.
Yeah. It was a shocker for us too. It was a nice little honor to get at the ceremony. So
I'm back to the days of Clare Bay.
yes, absolutely. It's been a while.
Congratulations. Good job.
We were joking that, you know, Amy, the new operator, was running the plant when they took that sample, so.
Roby was on vacation probably, right?
No, he was there.
Oh.
He took the sample, but.
Hey, Brian, number 2. Submitted, the paperwork to the DOT for, the bridge.
I'm Mike number 2.
Mike number 2.
I'm sorry.
Yes, for.
What'd you get for letting Sullivan go?
Yes, we got that application and didn't make it on this report, but then shortly thereafter, we did apply for another, road grant project for East Drexel Avenue from Howell to the South Milwaukee, border.
What's that estimated project cost on that bridge?
So I believe we were looking at our share being somewhere around 400,000 on that, and that's a 80-20 split. So what that calculates out to, you know, I think probably somewhere around the $2 million project.
Just wondering whether or not that is low.
We have a pretty good base because we did replace that bridge within just around the corner on Marquette Avenue in 2017. So we had and that's about where we were at.
I'm just shocked that they're still paying 80-20. So as long as they're paying 80-20, ask for every bridge you got in town.
Right.
That's all I got for these guys. Sorry about that, Brian, number 2.
Item number 13, consider a motion to update the current policy for damage to property within the street right away caused by snow removal.
All right, I'll start off by apologizing.
Yeah, I'll start up by apologizing. You have, what is attached to your packet is the current policy. What I handed you, the stapled pages, is the current policy with what they wanted to add, which is basically the top paragraph down to if the mailbox meets the above criteria is the only change in the policy. I'll give you a little background on this. I gave you a little on the cover for the item, but probably about 2 years before I started here, they had a pretty heavy winter with snow and that, and they had hundreds of mailboxes that they had to replace. One of the problems that they were having was a lot of these subdivisions, the HOAs, are requiring kind of fancier mailboxes than maybe we would want to purchase, averaging anywhere between $200 and $400 a piece for the mailbox and post. And so what ended up happening, and this was around 2011, I believe, what ended up happening was they adopted a policy which basically didn't do any repairs at all. All it did was reimburse the resident up to $100 for damages to his mailbox or his or her mailbox. But the problem with that is that, sometimes we do hit them, and you've got a lot of residents, especially if you're a senior citizen or something like that, that can't physically go out and repair their own mailboxes. So
with not their fault, you know, I mean, so we say, oh, well, we'll give you $100, but then they gotta hire so-and-so to come over and pay them to install their mailbox. So, with that feedback from the residents, we basically turned around our policy to what you see today, which is basically fixing everything again. So I did put in there, over the last 3 years, we've averaged over 100 mailboxes a year. One thing that we have noted is that probably only about 20% of these are damaged by our plows as far as like hitting them. What we'll find is a lot of them are, I mean, what maintenance do you do in your mailbox? Pretty much nothing till it falls down. So, but one of the problems we're having is, you know, we're getting a lot of these mailboxes that, you know, people had duct tape on them and stuff holding them together. And, you know, I mean, it's just like the wind as it comes through. You know, I can't keep your shingles and siding on your house if the wind comes by. I mean, it happens, and the snow is going to come off the plow blades. And so the only thing we really want to do is not necessarily not do any of the repair work, especially if we're at fault, but have the ability to go out and take a look at it and say, hey, come on, you know, this is, and also put kind of a date on there, which is shown to be May 1st for, which we think is, I mean, obviously if it snowed after May, we could extend that and make an exception to the rule here. But I mean, I got a call last week from somebody saying that our plows damaged their mailbox. And I mean, come on, right? You know, so like I'm saying, we're not trying to cheat anyone or anything like that. All we're trying to do is basically our guys got to go out and look at them anyway. I mean, even if it breaks and we say that we're not going to fix it, we still provide a temporary mailbox. I mean, we are understanding that, I mean, a resident can't go out on February 2nd when there's 2 feet of frost in the ground and put a new mailbox in, whether they're at fault or not, or we're at fault or not, you know? I mean, so we would do that. It's just, you know, us taking a look at it and going, hey, you know, this thing isn't put in properly. We have found a lot of them. One of the problems with some of them are they don't meet the postmaster's thing. So they'll either be way too close to the road or something like that. And that's one of the reasons they'll get knocked down. So the update to this policy would just simply give us the ability to go out and take a look at them and evaluate them and say either, yeah, we're going to take care of that, or no, this is something that you're going to have to take on as a homeowner. You know, the thing was, you know, not strong enough to handle, you know, the winter and not put in correctly according to the postman's, the way that the post office states that they're supposed to be installed. So like I'm saying, not trying to cheat anyone out of anything, just trying to make it a little fair. And to put a dollar amount on this, if you look at, let's say we do 100 mailboxes a year, if we were to reimburse $100 a mailbox, you know, that's $10,000 plus whatever labor we got. So, you know, I mean, we've got a little bit of money tied up in this, when it goes every year, to have people putting duct tape on there and, you know, feel in some cases taken advantage of, well, I'm not going to touch that, you know, next time the wind blows, we'll just tell the city to come fix it. So, that's basically what we're after here. A question for you, Ted.
Sure.
Do we have the dimensions that the post office requires for these?
We do.
Mailboxes?
We do. And actually, anytime that we have a
someone call and complain, or even knock them down. And our drivers are very good about it. They'll report them right away, and we will give the people a letter telling them if we're going to put up a temporary and what steps they need to do. And we also include a copy of the postmaster's specifications for installing mailboxes.
I've seen people put mailboxes up around.
Yeah, there's some goofy stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Ted, what, do you have a feel for, I mean, in terms of snow plowing operations, I actually kind of put them on equal footing, the actually hitting the mailbox versus the force of the snow coming off the plow. I think they're kind of essentially one and the same. Because they'll do just as much damage. So what actual percentage do you feel is actually a physical contact versus the force of the snow coming off?
I would say, I mean, you know, I would say out of 100, we probably hit 20 of them. You know, I mean, so it's probably 20% that we're actually physically hitting. And I would agree, there's some snows that are heavier than others. Problem is that, you know, I mean, we're getting, you know, 10 or 15, even on these light, fluffy snows. You know, you get these mailboxes that, you know, like I was saying, nobody does maintenance on their mailbox until it's laying on the ground. You know, or unless you don't like the look of it. You know, I mean, it's kind of, you have to expect it in Wisconsin that you know, you're going to get snow coming off a plow, and you know, we can't really be held responsible for every mailbox that goes down with that, especially if they don't meet the post office requirements. I mean, you know, a lot of these mailboxes, if they were actually set in the correct location, wouldn't be getting hammered like this because they'd be set back far enough.
Some of the problem, you know, like Jenna Prairie is the one the neighborhood I recall. It's got, you know, they chose a design of a, you know, multi-house mailbox with a post that was incapable of using or withstanding any amount of weight against it. I mean, it just snapped right off the top, and then there's 3 or 4 houses impacted instantly. I mean, that's the design standard we actually need to address versus. I mean, that's water under the bridge, so to speak, because that, you know, those neighborhoods are in for decades already.
Well, and actually, Jenna Prairie's mailboxes average about $400 a piece.
So I mean, that was we had a role in that. In fact, we approved that the developer actually used that thing. That's part of.
Well, I don't know if did the council approve the mailboxes?
I'm sure it went through design standards. So
yeah, well, the one thing is, even with our existing policy, I mean, we'd be happy if we break a mailbox in Jenna Prairie. We're happy to replace it. I mean, but we're not going to replace it with a $400 mailbox. Our standard in our current policy is we'll replace it with a traditional, you know, wood post with either, and we offer them either a black or a white mailbox, and we number them and everything, and or the kind of Rubbermaid ones, we actually offer those as well if they would prefer one of those. And those are the 2 options that we give them. I mean, we can't, you know, start putting in $400 mailboxes.
Yeah, we understand that, but I mean, that's part of the whole process. So we just be proactive about what we actually accept as design. It just strikes me as a little actually attempting to kind of dodge part of our obligation to the community.
Well, I don't look at it as dodging our obligation to the community.
You already said. It's what, 10% of the actual mailbox failures are strikes? So, I mean, you already took 90% of our effort out of the way here by this subtle change in what you're actually going to cover. Well, that impacts a lot of people.
My guess is that we would probably still do 85% of the mailboxes. You know, I mean, what they'd be looking for is going out there and finding the ones that are rotted through the posts and
and ones that are,
So you expect to have some discretion in play here versus what's actually on paper?
well, I think that that's what this says, is that it allows us some discretion to look at the condition of the,
It says if it was physically struck by a snowplow. It doesn't necessarily say it was rotted at the base. So, I mean, you're gonna inspect it if it was damaged by the snowplow.
well, they're gonna have to inspect every one anyway.
So,
We go out to every one of them. These are actual, the wording on this isn't necessarily, is more borrowed. These are our neighboring communities.
I know no one wants to be in the business of doing mailboxes. I mean,
Right.
it's understandable.
Right.
But it is what it is. We live in Wisconsin and.
I mean, you're making the distinction, Alderman Gale, of if the thrown snow is the cause of the knockdown, as long as the mailbox was in proper location, et cetera, good condition, you would be opting for us to replace that mailbox. That's kind of,
Speaking, yes.
so that's where I think the discussion should go, is if their mailbox is completely sound in accordance with all criteria, no matter how it gets toppled over, are we responsible for replacing it or not?
Right now, it's not written that way.
Correct.
So. You guys can have your input to it. So it's one man's opinion. So.
I also have a little question, maybe even for you, Randy. Does the post office themselves ever check to see if these post boxes or mailboxes they put up are somewhat
No,
in it? They don't.
the mailman doesn't care. The only thing he cares about is, can he reach out and open the mailbox and put the mail in? If he can't do that, then they reject it. And then the people have got, then he'll put, the sticker on it and he'll leave you the specs to fix it. But if he can reach out there and put the mail in there, he doesn't care.
Okay.
Back to what we were talking about, I mean, I feel like it's just, the two criteria on this, for this, I mean, I guess I can change a little bit of this top paragraph, but, it does say the criteria that it needs to meet was the mailbox was correctly installed, height and distance from the curb, and meets the United States Postal standards. Mailboxes that are not, that are improperly installed will not be replaced. And then it also says mailbox was in good physical condition prior to the reported damage. And that's basically, we would go and look at those, and it's mailboxes that are excessively rotted or rusted will not be replaced. I mean, that's basically the criteria that we're using, you know. I mean,
This paragraph is very explicit, the fact that it needs to be physically struck by the snowplow. So.
I don't know that it would be, I don't know that it with a very serviceable mailbox in accordance with all the criteria would withstand a plow strike physically. So I think that, again, the discussion is, are you looking at applying those criteria to a downed mailbox in the event of a snow removal operation, not physically struck by the plow, right? Which there's something to that, I think.
I guess maybe it should be, you know, that they were gonna inspect them, you know, and see if it was hit, and if it was, I mean, it certainly can be changed.
I think in many cases, you know, if the plow is going to end up hitting the box is going to be in pieces and all beat to heck. So it's going to be intuitively obvious, you know, to one of the highway department employees going out, looking at the box is all beat to heck. You know, yeah, we hit it, our fault. There's going to be other cases where the post, just due to the force of the snow, is going to knock it over, and the post is clearly busted at the base. And yeah, I can see where we probably shouldn't be responsible for it because it wasn't in good, orderly fashion to begin with.
What about the ones that were? And our operation's still broken?
Then we gotta fix it. It's a price of doing business.
That's not written.
Let's face it, you know, the number of mailboxes we hit is really dependent on how good are our drivers. And I don't care how good our drivers are. If you're out in a snowstorm, you can't see squat. You can't even see the road. How the heck do you expect them not to hit a few mailboxes? So go out there and try it sometime. I'm sure you guys probably have, or at least I hope you have, sitting in the passenger side, ride shotgun in a snowplow truck and see what it's like in a snowstorm. You can't see anything. And those guys are just doing their job.
I just want it to be written that way, so you have that flexibility, but it's not.
Yeah, he needs to have some flexibility.
Sorry, can you just change that second sentence to say a public works supervisor will inspect the damage to confirm it was damaged or that the damage occurred during snow clearing operations? And it takes out the physical hit versus the snow pushing against it and just, was it damaged during snow clearing? Mine got hit a couple of years ago. It was a couple of days after a storm when they were widening with the wings, and he came past and just snapped the arm off with the wing. I've got a driveway camera, so I just sent a video of it happening, saying, you hit my mailbox. But
I mean, I wouldn't mind the discretion, the fact that if you got a rotted post, it's eventually gonna fall over whether we touch it or not, but. So.
It's somewhat of a gray area.
It is a gray area.
Yeah, to be exact.
And there should be some connection to snow clearing. Like you said, if you just got a call not too long ago about a damaged mailbox from snow clearing, there hasn't been snow for how long now?
Your daughter could back into the driveway and plow into it and not tell you. And,
Right. I mean, when
we all have these experiences.
When mine got hit, I didn't wait weeks to reach out. It was pretty much that day. As soon as I saw it happen, and I confirmed with my video camera that it wasn't someone driving by, I sent it in.
Well, and I'm sure even with yours, I mean, our drivers don't try to hide it.
No,
I mean, they call them in immediately. I mean, by the time we leave, after cleaning up after a snowstorm, we've already got a list of ones that are there. And yeah, we don't catch them all. The people call up and we add stuff to our lists, but,
so Ted, you didn't really talk about this much, but were you attempting to limit all non-physical strikes from being reimbursed, or were you really just applying the criteria of, hey, your mailbox wasn't really up to snuff?
That's pretty much what we want to do.
So then you just go back to the amendment that Bob offered, and I think you can still manage the analysis.
Yeah, I would be fine with that. I mean, basically, we would just need to take out the sentence, the city of Oak Creek will not be reliable for damage that occurs from the weight of the snow or the snowplow, and basically just rely on the inspection.
Good point.
But that's a pretty liberal way to go about it. I mean, then you're opening yourself up, which I think is what you were trying to limit,
Well, not necessarily. I mean, my guess is on this is that 80% of the ones we're going to fix anyway. It's the ones that are just absolutely ridiculous that we're trying to eliminate.
Limit it to you don't want to just open this up that any.
No, I would still leave.
Over, they're calling you.
Yeah, no, I would still leave the part of snowplow operations and May 1st and that. I mean,
my mailbox should fall over today.
You know, let me just.
There's usually a city truck that drives down my road every day, so I could call you up and say your city truck must hit my mailbox.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's amazing some of the calls that we do get. You know.
I mean, here's a suggestion to just, we could use the existing language with a slight change. You tell me what you think. Second sentence, it'd say a public works supervisor will inspect the damage to confirm it was physically struck by a snowplow or failed as a result of the weight of the snow or snow exiting the plow in the city, and then the rest of it can continue as it is. Then it includes a discretion over whether or not it was rotted or in poor condition to begin with.
Yeah, let me take another crack at it and I'll rewrite the top paragraph.
I'll bring it back next month.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'm hoping we won't have a snowstorm by then.
You ever done that before last year?
Halloween. I believe we had our first snow on Halloween next year. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I know, big snow.
Ted, will next meeting be your last meeting?
Well, I mean, actually, like Andrew said, my last day at work is, November 24th, I believe it is. But I'm actually still, here until January 14th. So, my guess is I'll probably still go to a couple of meetings and that are important to our department. I mean, just because I'm retiring doesn't mean I don't care. I'll probably come to the council meeting with a couple of pieces of equipment after the 24th. And my guess is if there's a pressing issue, especially if there's an interim or a part-time person that's taken on my responsibilities and Ralph's responsibilities, I want that person to succeed. So I would be happy to help the individual out. I want the department to be successful along with the city, so.
Well, I have a question also dealing with you about maintaining the park square or the park that we have in Drexel Town Square, where you remove and take care of the umbrellas and the splash pad and so forth.
Yeah.
I thought this was taken care of by the association when we did the write-up of the development of Drexel Town Square. They were supposed to take care of maintaining the park or the square themselves, and they were to take care of the water and so forth, and we ended up taking those over.
So that did waver back and forth, and this predates me. So I'll tell you what I think it was originally set up to be privately held or common area of Drexel Town Square, the actual, the square itself. I think that we thought better of that, and I think it's probably the best. It was a good outcome that was public ownership and not ownership of some owners association here at Drexel Town Square. So, and maybe this was the impetus for the current agreement, which we currently operate under. The owners, each of the properties within Drexel Town Square, give us monies every year for resources to maintain snow removal on sidewalks, to maintain grass cutting operations in certain areas. And I think that was an attempt to recoup some of the costs for DPW or labor output going to Drexel Town Square proper. But that did, I think you're probably remembering correctly, there was a thought, I think, maybe Ken or Mike or Chris could chime in, that Drexel, the square might have been just a common area of the association.
Right.
And I think rightfully so that migrated to being city ownership.
I think they also looked at the financial and determined that if that burden was put on the business owners, that it would be very difficult to keep those businesses sustainable.
That's the problem with the association. That was their selling point when they did the development, that said, we will maintain, this is our responsibility.
Yeah.
We will take care of the planting, and so forth. And even the park over here, or the trail that we have, and all of a sudden, we are taking care of it. And I'm just wondering how we're handling the situation.
Certainly need to do a more thorough job of planning for seasonal activities here. Guess I'll leave it at that, and we'll commit to that.
We're just trying to reduce your burden, Ted.
I appreciate it. I mean, this area is a lot of work. We have people here every day doing things at Drexel Town Square.
So we're not gonna make a motion on 13. We're gonna hold it right for till next month. Okay.
Good on hold.
It's nothing, capital assets. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Keel, aye.
Holman, aye. Guzekowski, aye.
Richards, aye.
Clifford, aye.
Scully, aye.
Yeah.